Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital Today channel. Drew was arrested for theft. What are the legal remedies for stolen heirlooms? Drew Cain could be arrested for theft. On social media, many fans are calling for the congressman to face legal consequences over the stolen heirlooms he's been gloating about. In GH's November 10th episode, Drew admitted to Ned Quartermaine that he called the moving company and had all the valuable family heirlooms shipped to his house. Ned insisted that was theft and pointed out those items didn't belong to Drew. Of course, Drew acted like he owned them anyway and made it clear that he took great pleasure in keeping those family items from the Quartermaine clan. Ned eventually ranted about how he was going to take Drew to court and sue him for every item he stole, but that's not good enough for plenty of fed-up fans. Drew's brazen crime has prompted a significant social media push for his arrest. Monica Quartermaine left Drew out of the will completely, so he doesn't deserve a single thing from inside her house. Drew already gets away with far too much, but he shouldn't get away with this when the items were so clearly stolen. Since Drew also left Ned while he was having a medical crisis, that's just more proof that he's a dirty rotten scoundrel who needs to go down one way or another. Even if it's for something small like stealing Quartermaine family heirlooms, it'd be better than nothing. Drew's shooting clearly wasn't enough of a comeuppance since he didn't change his behavior at all. If anything, Drew's gotten even worse. Would you like to see Drew get arrested over the theft he just confessed to? Are you getting sick of Drew's self-satisfied demeanor and the awful things he does every day? Although Drew is brimming with confidence on any given day, he may have some unexpected snags in his future related to Willow Tate and her own legal drama. Drew Cain's latest stunt has GH fans erupting across social media, and the pressure for consequences is louder than ever as viewers rally behind the idea that Drew could, and should, be arrested for theft following his brazen confession about the stolen Quartermaine heirlooms. In the November 10th episode, Drew openly admitted to Ned Quartermaine that he deliberately called the moving company and had every valuable family heirloom from Monica's house shipped straight to his place, acting as if he had every right to claim centuries of Quartermaine legacy as his own. Ned's reaction was immediate and furious, insisting that Drew's actions were blatant theft and reminding him that the heirlooms never belonged to him in the first place, no matter what self-delusional justification Drew tried to spin. Instead of showing remorse or even pretending to understand the gravity of what he'd done, Drew doubled down by smugly gloating about depriving the Quartermaine family of their history, their memories, and the sentimental items that have defined the powerful dynasty for generations. To many fans, Ned's promise to take him to civil court wasn't nearly enough, and the online world quickly filled with posts demanding Drew be criminally charged, arrested, prosecuted, and forced to face real, tangible consequences rather than yet another slap on the wrist. After all, Monica Quartermaine made it crystal clear when she left Drew completely out of the will, meaning he isn't legally entitled to a single salt shaker, much less irreplaceable heirlooms worth a small fortune and carrying decades of emotional significance. Viewers have long complained that Drew gets away with far too much on a regular basis, but this time the situation feels different. This wasn't an accident, a misunderstanding, or a morally gray decision gone wrong. It was premeditated theft, executed with glee, and proudly flaunted right to Ned's face. Add in the fact that Drew heartlessly abandoned Ned during a medical crisis, choosing to walk away instead of calling for help, and the growing perception is that Drew has slid into full villain territory, with fans labeling him everything from a manipulative opportunist to a dirty rotten scoundrel who needs to go down one way or another. Even those who used to defend Drew are struggling to justify his behavior now, arguing that if the show wants viewers to take him seriously as a leader, a congressman, or even a decent human being, accountability needs to come knocking sooner rather than later. For many loyal GH watchers, Drew's recent shooting wasn't satisfying payback since it didn't trigger any self-reflection or repentance. Instead, it seemed to embolden him, making him pettier, smugger, and more unhinged than ever. That has left fans asking, if a near-death experience didn't change him, what will? Perhaps an arrest is exactly the wake-up call Drew deserves, and the perfect storyline twist to finally force him to confront the consequences he's dodged for months. The legal side of things is also fascinating for viewers who enjoy the courtroom intrigue GH does so well. The theft of high-value heirlooms, taken intentionally and transported across town, could easily qualify as grand larceny depending on their appraised worth, especially given the items include rare antiques and priceless Quartermaine family artifacts. Drew's confession to Ned, without coercion, without hesitation, and with a smirk, essentially hands law enforcement all the probable cause they need to launch an investigation. Civil court could get the items returned, but a criminal case could put Drew's political career, public reputation, and newfound power on the line. Imagine the fallout if the media learned a sitting congressman stole from one of Port Charles's most influential families. Even his supporters would have a hard time spinning that story as anything other than a humiliating scandal. While Drew walks around with his usual overinflated confidence, acting like nothing and no one can touch him, viewers sense the writers planting the seeds for a long overdue downfall. It doesn't help that Drew's behavior toward Willow Tate, another storyline bubbling beneath the surface, may eventually intertwine with his legal troubles, especially if her own drama brings additional scrutiny to the people closest to her. If Drew is already on thin ice with the law, any new scandal could push him straight into handcuffs. Fans are already imagining scenes of Anna or Dante showing up to arrest him, or Ned triumphantly watching as Drew is escorted out in disgrace. Port Charles thrives on justice served with a dramatic flair, and Drew's arc is practically begging for that moment. With fans growing more vocal and fed up with his daily smugness, his entitlement, and the way he treats the people around him, his arrest could become one of the most satisfying GH payoffs in recent memory. So the big question now is simple: would you want to see Drew finally face the music and get arrested for stealing the Quartermaine heirlooms? Has his attitude pushed you past your limit? Or do you think he'll somehow find another loophole to slither through without facing any real punishment? Considering the climate, the mounting backlash, and the storytelling opportunities, Drew may soon discover that even a powerful congressman can't outrun the law forever, not in Port Charles, and certainly not when he's crossed the Quartermaine family one stolen heirloom too many. As the debate surrounding Drew Cain intensifies, the possibility of him facing criminal charges over the Quartermaine heirlooms is evolving into one of the most heated General Hospital discussions in recent memory. What began as a moment of arrogant satisfaction on Drew's part has grown into a full-blown controversy, with fans dissecting every detail, every legal angle, and every implication for the congressman who once positioned himself as a moral compass for Port Charles. The brazenness of his actions is what truly pushes viewers over the edge. Drew didn't steal the heirlooms in a moment of desperation or confusion. He took them deliberately, calmly, and with a clear intention to deprive the Quartermaine family of what rightfully belonged to them. Social media platforms like X, Reddit, Facebook groups, and fan forums are filled with lengthy threads calling out the hypocrisy of Drew portraying himself as a hero while committing outright crimes behind the scenes. Many longtime viewers argue that Drew's moral decline has been unfolding for months, yet the show has allowed him to operate with minimal consequences. Now, the storyline has finally crossed a line that fans aren't willing to overlook, making the push for his arrest not just believable within the narrative, but demanded by the audience. The legal side alone has captivated fans who enjoy exploring how much trouble Drew could realistically be in. According to basic property law, the moment Drew instructed the movers to take items that were not his, he committed theft, plain and simple. The fact that he then had the items transported to his own residence escalates the situation into intentional possession of stolen property. The internet has even seen viewers posting breakdowns of the potential charges Drew could face: grand larceny depending on the value of the heirlooms, receiving stolen property, coercion if he used influence to expedite the move, and possibly even fraud depending on what he told the moving company. As a congressman, Drew would not only face legal consequences but also political and public relations scrutiny. An arrest could trigger ethics hearings, potential removal from key committees, and national embarrassment that would make his political aspirations crash and burn overnight. Some fans speculate that GH writers might be heading toward a major takedown arc, paralleling real-world political scandals where individuals in power fall from grace after their misdeeds come to light. The reactions from other characters within the GH universe could also create powerful drama. Ned Quartermaine is already furious enough to sue Drew, and fans know Ned is not one to let things go lightly. A civil suit would likely be just the beginning. Olivia would back Ned up entirely, and Brooke Lynn, already protective of her father, would be ready to rip Drew apart for taking advantage of the Quartermaine family during such a vulnerable time. Other members of the family like Tracy, Michael, and even Monica, depending on how the storyline unfolds, could step forward with explosive confrontations that would give the cast some of their strongest emotional scenes in years. Tracy in particular would be a force of nature. Viewers can already picture her storming into the room demanding the heirlooms be returned immediately, threatening legal war, and verbally annihilating Drew with the kind of sharp-tongued rage only she can deliver. The fallout could even affect ELQ, since Drew's actions could influence shareholders' trust, company image, and future leadership decisions. A scandal of this magnitude could destabilize the Quartermaine legacy in ways that ripple through multiple storylines. The psychological aspect of Drew's behavior is also deeply intriguing. Fans who once saw him as the calm, grounded alternative to Jason Morgan now view him as increasingly unstable, vindictive, and selfish. His obsession with punishing the Quartermaines appears to run deeper than simple entitlement. The way he smirked at Ned, relishing the pain he was causing, suggests a darkness in Drew that the show has only begun to tap into. This isn't the first time Drew has shown a manipulative streak. Recent tensions with Willow, Michael, and Carly have shown that the congressman has become someone who uses his power, influence, and status to control narratives around him. The heirloom theft is simply the most public and undeniable example of Drew's transformation into someone far more morally questionable. Viewers online question whether the show is building toward a psychological breakdown or a villain arc, both of which could offer fascinating direction for the character. Some even argue that Drew may be dealing with unresolved trauma, grief, or identity issues that have manifested in destructive ways, but fans also agree that the character cannot hide behind trauma as an excuse forever. The crime was deliberate, calculated, and celebratory, meaning accountability is overdue. One of the most compelling angles of the story is how Drew's smugness has alienated so many viewers. GH fans often tolerate flawed characters as long as they show self-awareness, remorse, or complexity. Drew, however, has become infuriatingly unapologetic, walking around Port Charles with an air of superiority that has grated on fans. The stolen heirlooms storyline is the tipping point, reinforcing that Drew believes he is above consequences, above morality, and above the law. The shooting he endured earlier in the year was thought by many fans to be a turning point, a moment that might humble him or inspire self-reflection. Instead, as many viewers point out, Drew emerged from the ordeal more arrogant than ever. Rather than softening him, the shooting appeared to harden him, making him more controlling, more aggressive, and more dismissive of the people who once supported him. This narrative shift makes the possibility of his arrest much more satisfying dramatically. A character who has become this entitled is ripe for a downfall that could finally humble him in a way no other experience has. At the same time, Drew's enemies, and even some of his allies, could use the scandal to their advantage. If he is arrested or even investigated, political rivals could emerge eager to expose his misconduct. The media would circle him like sharks, especially given his position in Congress. Sonny Corinthos, while not directly involved, might have opinions on the matter, given his long history with the Quartermaines and his keen sense of justice. Carly's reaction would also be worth watching. She has defended Drew in the past, but even she might struggle to stand by him after something this serious. Their relationship already has cracks, and this scandal could shatter it completely, leaving Drew isolated and vulnerable in a way that makes his character's trajectory even more dramatic. The writers may use this moment to expose just how few people Drew truly has left in his corner, and how much of that is his own doing. Another fascinating angle is Willow Tate's connection to Drew and how her own legal troubles might intersect with his. While GH hasn't fully revealed where Willow's arc is heading, fans have been speculating that Drew's involvement in her life may complicate matters. If Willow finds herself facing criminal consequences, investigations, or accusations, Drew's behavior could draw unwanted scrutiny to her situation as well. Their association could make prosecutors or investigators more suspicious of her, tying two separate storylines together in a messy, dramatic knot. Fans can already envision Drew trying to help Willow only to make things worse, spiraling out of control as he attempts to protect himself and others while the walls close in on him. As fan demand for consequences grows louder, GH writers may feel encouraged to push Drew's arc into full-blown scandal territory. Arrest scenes are always big ratings draws, and with the mounting backlash online, this storyline presents the perfect opportunity to give viewers the justice they crave. The dramatic visuals alone, Drew in handcuffs, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions, the Quartermaines watching with satisfaction, would make for unforgettable television. Port Charles thrives on karmic payback, and viewers want to see Drew finally experience what it's like when his actions catch up with him. A courtroom battle between Ned and Drew would also deliver weeks or months of compelling material, complete with explosive testimony, heated confrontations, and high-stakes drama. Ultimately, whether Drew is arrested or not, the conversation around him has permanently shifted. He is no longer seen as the noble, heroic figure who once won fans' hearts. Instead, he has become one of the most controversial characters on the canvas right now, a man whose downfall many are eagerly anticipating. The Stolen Heirlooms storyline is a turning point, transforming Drew from a somewhat polarizing figure into a man fans are now actively rooting against. That alone proves how powerful and effective this storyline has become. And yet, the best part is that GH still has countless directions to take the arc from here. Will Drew repent? Will he double down? Will he blame others? Will he spiral further? Will he lose everything? The possibilities are endless, but one thing is certain, viewers will be watching intensely, waiting, hoping, and demanding that Drew finally faces the consequences he has earned through months of arrogant, unethical behavior. In the end, the question isn't just whether Drew Cain should be arrested. It's whether this moment marks the beginning of a long-awaited reckoning, one that could redefine his character, shake up Port Charles, and deliver the satisfying justice fans have been craving for far too long. Adding yet another layer to the controversy, Drew Cain's theft of the Quartermaine heirlooms has not only ignited debates about legal ramifications but also sparked deep conversations about morality, loyalty, and the toxic consequences of unchecked ambition in Port Charles. Fans are dissecting every interaction, replaying scenes in their minds, and pointing out that Drew's actions were far from impulsive, they were calculated, premeditated, and fueled by a desire to assert dominance over a family that has repeatedly outshined him in social, political, and financial arenas. His smugness when confessing to Ned Quartermaine, combined with his lack of remorse, has only intensified audience outrage. For many viewers, the very fact that Drew dared to gloat about taking items that hold not only monetary but also emotional and historical value is the ultimate insult. These heirlooms are more than antiques, they are symbols of legacy, family history, and generational pride. By appropriating them for himself, Drew symbolically claimed the power and prestige of the Quartermaines without ever earning it, which in the eyes of fans, makes him irredeemable unless serious consequences are imposed. The legal implications alone are massive. In addition to potential charges like grand larceny and possession of stolen property, some fans speculate that Drew could face obstruction of justice if any effort is made to cover up his crime. The moving company's involvement, though likely unintentional, could also complicate matters. If the company were shown to have knowingly transported stolen goods, that would open yet another front in a complex legal battle. Lawyers within fan communities have been debating Drew's vulnerability to both criminal and civil cases, citing that civil action may recover the heirlooms or their monetary value, but a criminal case would strike at the heart of his credibility, reputation, and career. As a congressman, Drew's misdeeds could spark a chain reaction, potentially prompting an ethics investigation, a forced resignation, or at the very least, intense media scrutiny. For GH fans who love seeing consequences play out in dramatic fashion, this is a storyline ripe with potential for months of tension, courtroom drama, and personal conflict. Meanwhile, the Quartermaine family's response has become a focal point for speculation. Ned's outrage is just the tip of the iceberg. Tracy Quartermaine, known for her fiery temper and penchant for dramatic confrontation, is widely expected to demand a public reckoning. Whether it's verbally tearing Drew apart in the mansion or pushing for legal recourse, Tracy's involvement promises highly charged scenes that could rival some of the most memorable moments in GH history. Michael Quartermaine, ever the moral center in his own way, may step in to provide guidance and support to his family while trying to navigate the potential fallout on his own life. Even Monica, though removed from the current storyline due to her will leaving Drew out entirely, is a symbol of the broader familial and moral stakes, reminding viewers why Drew's actions are so offensive. Collectively, the Quartermain's reactions provide not only immediate drama but also the potential for ripple effects in other storylines across Port Charles, making Drew's choices more impactful than ever. Drew's arrogance and lack of self-awareness have also led fans to speculate about his psychological state. Social media threads are filled with theories about why Drew has become increasingly selfish, manipulative, and willing to flaunt his misdeeds. Some suggest that Drew's past traumas, unresolved family issues, or even a desire to prove himself in a world that has repeatedly undervalued him may be motivating his behavior. Others argue that Drew has simply embraced a darker side of his personality, one that is comfortable with breaking rules and harming others to achieve his desires. Regardless of the reasoning, the combination of premeditation and enjoyment in committing the theft makes Drew a character whose next move is highly unpredictable, and that unpredictability keeps fans glued to each episode. The narrative tension is not just about whether he will face legal consequences, it's about what he will do if he manages to temporarily escape them. Another angle that has captivated fans is Drew's dynamic with Willow Tate. While the focus is primarily on the stolen heirlooms, Drew's ongoing involvement with Willow could